Hello, I'm unpacking my Achilles dinghy here. You can kind of see these valves were pretty much undone, and I just secured them. I'm just undoing the packing right now. Let me take you, I'll give you a look at what's inside the box that was in the center. There's the oars and the inflatable device. Not sure. I have to get back to you on this. I think it's a patch kit. So that's pretty much what's in the box. There's a seat there.
So now we're going to look at the pump that came with the Achilles dinghy. It's a standard Bravo 2 pump. However, there's these attachments here that came with it, and then also this attachment here. You can kind of see it. It's rubberized here, and then it's got a flaring to fit into the hose right here. So it fits into this mechanism here. The problem that I have is I have an automated pump here. It's a Black & Decker, and it does have pretty much the standard hose, so I'm hoping that I'll just be able to screw, looks like I can almost just screw this attachment into the Achilles attachment into this pump, and I'll be able to basically fill the whole dinghy with this and just top off with this one here. You can see here I've chosen to put the dinghy bottom side up. It seems to fit my deck better. And this is after I sailed. I was heeling quite a bit, so I think it probably isn't such a smart thing to not secure the front part of the bow of the dinghy. Here I've secured the sides, and you can kind of see I've secured this part of the package against the mast. I put my own painter on it, but if I was to do it over again, I think I'd use this winch, the winch and this front strap, then secure that so it doesn't, so it can't sway and have the dinghy go overboard. Okay, this is going to be the first fill of the Achilles HB-300FX. You can see that the cover material is kind of a rubberized material. It seems to be pretty sturdy. I'm not sure how well it'll endure the sun. I go through covers about once every 3 or 4 years, and it's got a pretty nice, it's a plastic type transom. It seems better than the plywood transom I had before on my previous folding transom. And here's a shot of the plate, the motor plate, and they also have they've kind of thoughtful, and they've done another plate here, back here, to stop the wear on the transom. That's pretty nice. And then you see that we've got there are going to be three valves. You see how I've adapted my automated filler with the fitting that came with the pump. And there's one other valve right here, and these are pretty sturdy. I guess they're gas tank, to secure your gas tank. And you kind of see the handles. They appear like they're pretty good, the handles. And then they have integrated oar locks that look like they just kind of stow away, and you know, it looks like won't be too much problem sitting on them. And then you see they kind of have these oar locks. Anyway, I'm going to blow this up right now, and we'll start it up. So I'm blowing it up, and so you can kind of see it it fits pretty good on a, this is a Catalina 320 foredeck. You could probably get the specs Catalina 320 foredeck, but you can kind of see that it fits pretty good between the mast and the bow. And what I'm going to be doing is filling it up, and then just with the automated fill, and then I'm going to throw it over the port side, over the lifelines, after tying on the dinghy painter. By the way, it comes with this painter right here, but it's just not long enough, so I put a new painter on it, and I'm going to cast it overboard, and we'll probably pick up the I'll show you more about the dinghy after I get on and top it off. Here you can see where we just have the first chamber filled. I'm getting ready to fill the second chamber. Here you can see I'm just finishing topping off the bow chamber, and so the forward valve there fills pretty much half of the bow, and I've still got one more chamber to fill here, and it's probably just barely going to fit on my foredeck. Here's a view of the Achilles HB-300FX folding stern on a Catalina 320. You can see it's pretty much occupying the whole foredeck. The problem's going to be, what I like to do is have it on the deck when I go out and, you know, cruising, if I'm going for an extended period. So what I usually do, you see how the distance between the shrouds is pretty narrow. With this thing inflated, it's not going to fit. So I'm going to have to uninflate it. I'll show you a video of that later when I finish my trip. And so my intent is again to basically throw it off to the port side of the boat. You can kind of see a little bit more detail of the transom here. It's got just a standard plug type transom plug. Let's see, you got it there. It's also got this handle here, which I'm not used to having on the dinghy. I'm not sure what the purpose of that is. Probably you could secure it alongside. You can kind of see how the oars are meant to be stowed underneath the on the port and starboard side, and it looks like it's got a hoisting ring there, and I suppose you got a hoisting ring right there. But it's a really nice, it appears to be a really nice material and very, very well made. I mean, look at these, the reinforcement that they put into the transom area right here. It's just, seems a very high quality. I had a compact rib 310 and for West Marine, but it was a PVC. I think this one is just so much better. Notice it's got the kind of blunt tits in the back. Not sure about, you know, what the advantage or disadvantage of that. And then pretty nice little combing around the side. So I'm going to go see if I can throw this in. It only weighs, I think, 95 pounds. We'll see how it is throwing it in. Okay, the boat's in the water now. I just want to make a note on inflating. I chose to inflate to top off when I was in the water. There's a V-bottom, as you see on the bow. There's a V-bottom, which isn't very easy to operate this foot pump over here on the V. I've kind of gone through foot pumps doing that. So I think if you're going to top off, it's best to just top off, put the foot pump to the stern. Another note is you want to inflate the bow first. It seems to where it makes the stern rigid almost automatically. I had to put very little amount of air in the starboard stern section. You know, the port stern section, it did firm that up quite a bit when I put air in the bow. So now this is a Catalina 320. So now the challenge is to single-handedly put this 5-horse motor, which I think weighs about 50 pounds. What I do is I put it on this. I put the motor on this towel, you know, upright. I'm not going to be able to show you because I need 2 hands. And you see how I've tied. Basically, I have a line around the flagpole, pole, and then I've got a line tied on the starboard side, and then I basically have my boat led, you know, on the port side. So it's going to be pretty close. I can actually stand on the swim step here if I need to, and kind of throw the motor inside the boat. So hopefully I'll get it. And I don't use a line on this, so what I've tried to engineer it to where if there's a mishap, I kind of fall inside. And the other thing is, it's a very, look at the transom section. It's pretty thick, so I'm going to have to make sure that these that the motor is threaded out, you know, quite a ways before I try this, and I'll check back with you. Okay, now we're going to hoist the Achilles HB-300FX onto the deck of a Catalina 320. The dinghy just fits. You saw my launching video. I got this idea from somebody else with a 320, so it's not my own idea. This dinghy has harness line posts. You can see the holes in the transom along with the lifting line. So you could lift it with a harness. However, I think it's much easier to do it this way. What I do is I have a figure-8 knot in a painter. I've got a heavy-duty painter attached to the spinnaker halyard, and I'm kind of headed up the mast here. I can do this by myself. However, it's best to have somebody on deck to just guide it along. I've got a little bit of breeze on my starboard side, and I'm lifting it to port, but it's fluking around a lot. Sometimes this thing will act as a sail. You might have to have a line on it. 2 people you can do, but I do it most of the time by myself. So the idea will be to put it here on the deck with and lay it bottom down. I've got a problem with this, with the spreaders or the stanchions here, so I'm going to have to you know, fit it between here, and it won't fit, so I'm going to have to deflate it. But I'll show you the other steps. Here we go. Okay, now the HB-300FX is on the deck. I over deflated the port side of the dinghy. You see how the orientation is probably the best for, you know, sailing into the weather. The only thing you do give up, I don't have access to my chain locker now, so I couldn't really lower anchor and have it strapped like this onto the deck. If I was to do that, I'd have to rerun the spinnaker halyard on the painter, hoist it up. Hopefully, you know, of course, if there was a lot of wind on the bow, it wouldn't be that good. But you know, that's the thing you'd give up. Alternatively, you could just deflate it, and if you knew you were sailing in heavy weather, I'd probably recommend to deflate it anyway and lash it to the deck. But this is the way I usually run it, and it is pretty good for a lifeboat. You know, you could pretty much float it away as a lifeboat if you kind of had and just jump aboard with a pump, and pretty much you'd have a reasonably good lifeboat.